I never did get used to the new IMDb.
It's awful.
It's so hostile, especially on an iPad.
Oh. Yeah.
Because only certain parts scroll.
Yeah, it's awful. Thanks, Amazon.
Hello, everybody. I am Will.
And I'm Kristen.
And this is So I'm Watching This Show, your new favorite pop culture YouTube channel where we talk about movies, TV, music, and more. As always, this is a spoiler show, so you have been warned. On today's episode, we're going to have a conversation about the new rom-com Bros.
Woohoo!
Life, I prided myself on being self-reliant, but this guy has gone into my head.
Maybe you're both bottoms and that's the problem.
Bottom dick.
Gay sex was more fun when straight people were uncomfortable with it.
Oh my god, do you guys remember Straight People?
Yeah, they had a nice run.
I wanted to talk about this for a few specific reasons. Number one, I wanted to thank you because you were the one sort of championing going to see this.
Yeah.
Even though today I am the one that made you go.
You made me go today, but I made you go in general.
This keeps happening. I'm still working on it. We're all works in progress. But I had the tiniest chip on my shoulder about this movie. I don't know how much of it is unique to me or the cultural experience for queer people of my age. We're roughly the same age as these people. They're 5 years older than us.
Yeah, I was like, I think Billy Eichner is 40 or 42.
Because they referenced that Luke McFarlane was 15 in 1995.
Yeah.
It can be hard. And for, queer people of our age, we grew up in a transition period. We grew up where it wasn't nearly as hard as it was in the before times. However, it was not a cakewalk.
It was hostile. The 90s are so hostile.
In general.
Yeah.
And so the thing is, like, so many of us grew up in defense mode and fight or flight mode and all that. And so as such, I have always been on the periphery of queer culture, but I've never been in the front of the parade. And there's just, I don't know if it is internalized homophobia. I'm sure that's an aspect of it. But there's this element of me that always feels like I'm being lectured by other gay people on how to be gay the right way. Mm-hmm. And especially on Twitter, there's a gay mafia on Twitter, and it's exhausting. I'm exhausted. It's exhausting. And that's just what I was afraid this was going to be. And it's ironic because that's kind of everything that we're trying not to do. Mm-hmm. And in a large part, and this dawned on me, but I was like, a large part, this movie doesn't blatantly say that. But
well, he literally does. When they're talking one of the first times, he literally is like, we all suck. Like, it's so intense and annoying hanging out with only gay people.
The balance between the parts of this that were so uniquely, beautifully, exclusively queer and so cliche, tropey rom-com.
Yeah.
It's very strange. And I think that was part of what specifically this movie is when compared to other, queer media, mainstream, especially queer media at this time. That this is the gay Judd Apatow rom-com.
Sure.
In ways that, like, Happiest Season was the gay lesbian,
Happiest Season was the lesbians. Yeah. Single All the Way. Was the one.
They're different. They're each being gay in a different conventional way.
Sure.
That I find very interesting.
So here's the thing for me too. I understand gay relationships are different than straight relationships. I was a little annoyed that he was so anti-love is love.
It's a straight people thing.
I know it's a straight people thing. I just think it's like, it's such a lovely sentiment that it's like, it doesn't matter as long as there is love, is how I interpreted it. Not that you are loving the same way that I am loving.
But there was just
I felt like Lin-Manuel Miranda was like falling down the stairs somewhere.
I mean, that's what you get. No good deed goes unpunished. And like I genuinely, the part of me thought that this was going to be Billy Eichner lecturing me on not being the right kind of gay for 2 hours. And that's sort of what I was saying earlier, where it's like largely it's on the periphery, but that's sort of part of what it is about.
Yeah.
And I sort of loved, and it made me feel seen. And because there's a lot of things that I've taken on so completely singularly. Like we were walking out of the movie and I was talking a little about it, and I was like, there's so many things that this movie touched on that I thought were unique to me.
Yeah.
Because there's something fatally wrong with me. And then to have this movie saying it, I'm like, oh, it's not. And that made me feel better. Because sometimes that can make you feel cheap. Make me feel like, oh, I'm not unique. I'm just like everyone else. But other times that's like so gratifying. And the first 15 minutes of this movie are fire. It was just joke after joke.
The first line of dialogue is him introducing his podcast, The 11th Stone at Stonewall. Or Brick at Stonewall. That is hysterically funny.
Because that's the thing. We've gotten to a point where, and sure, you know, the people in the flyover states, maybe, but maybe they don't know that. But at this point, we've had the Marsha P. Johnson story drilled into our heads. And so it was just sort of gratifying to me to be sort of roasting it or sort of teasing that aspect that we've moved. I don't know. It was so funny.
Well, because it's very like the judges on Law and Order don't have to be black anymore because we had a black president. It's like very that same vibe where it's like now the cis white straight men or cis white gay men can throw the bricks at Stonewall. But the other thing too that you were going to say is like how it was on the periphery of like being preachy. I think it worked 100% because he was opening that museum.
Mm-hmm.
This is like the passion of his life. And so it makes sense that he would be always like saying stuff like that. I kind of liked how all of that kind of wrapped around each other.
And the movie didn't present him as the authority on gayness and the right perfect gay who was going around correcting everybody.
And he had that little, you know, group of people that were working in the museum too. There was two trans women and Jim Rash.
We needed Jim Rash. That was very funny. We needed more T.S. Madison.
Definitely.
I really liked them. They get a lot of material. I can't really say we needed more, but I very much enjoyed their stuff. And that's another part that it just really sort of made me relax and really sort of made me feel seen is this movie really captures how exhausting it is trying to be inclusive, like trying to make everything right.
Yeah.
And there's a handful of just brilliant cameos. And this is the more spoilery stuff because I think it's better if you don't know it's coming. So we loved it, honestly.
Yeah.
If you want to bow out, there's that. We're going to talk about some of the spoilers.
I say check it out for sure.
Do you like movies? Do you like art? Do you like awesome art about movies? Then head on over to Movie Palette.
MoviePalette.com. If you put in the code SHOW15, you get 15% off with our special code.
Sweet thing. This is the movie Showgirls.
And this is the pool scene. We've determined this is the pool scene.
So glad I dressed for the pool.
We love it. We love to see, and I think this is the S&M scene, the S&M dance. Is that before or after the pool? I think it's before the pool.
Before the pool.
Yeah. It's so dark. Love it. It's so cool. Do you like stripes? It has everything.
MoviePalette.com, code SHOW15. The Kristen Chenoweth was so funny. What she was, first of all, she would never. But second of all, it was like gay face. Like she was out there in like gay pantomime.
It was like 100% rainbow tulle, and then she had a little revolving diorama of Stonewall on a hat, like on a fascinator on her head. It was very drop dead gorgeous.
There is a truly insane double cameo from Deborah Messing.
God bless.
That scene of hers in the museum, it turns into commedia dell'arte.
Yeah.
It's so
well, and then she almost does that thing where she like leaves from this direction and comes back from this direction. She's like, because she's just all of a sudden there again, and she's like, the fucking door is locked. Incredible.
I want her.
Yeah.
I want Sherry to take me out.
It was so
'Cause even
Marie Jones.
The nods to the lesbians, because when he
Yeah.
was like tweaking out on the steroids, and they're like, lesbians, hold him down.
So funny.
And that's another thing that it's like, I loved that easily half of the movie was them trying to figure out how to navigate a gay relationship, a modern gay relationship. And also it's like, I love that, and this is piggybacking on Billy Eichner not being the authority on being gay, because he was kind of the worst. Like, he was kind of a neurotic mess.
So
and
that actually brings me back around to a point I wanted to say before, where it's like, he is very acerbic and dry and like kind of hard to take in this movie, but I liked that he had a very full life without having a partner. He had friends, he had a potentially they were bisexual but married to each other, but a man and a woman married with kids.
Found family.
He was their gunkle, you know, all the stuff, and he had all of these people. And
a wonderful cameo from Simone.
Yes.
She's not the currently reigning queen.
No, but
Simone as Marty. Because I'm like, how do you put Simone in your movie and not have her be Simone? But
it was so funny. I don't know. It was so funny. I just loved.
I interrupted you.
Yeah, I just loved that it was like he had never been in a serious romantic relationship, but he seemed to have a somewhat fulfilling sexual relationship, and then he had a very fulfilling.
He had an active
human
sexual life.
Yeah,
I don't know that it was fulfilling, but that's.
I said somewhat.
It's the pantomiming of it all. It truly is.
I swear to God, all the hey, what's up? Okay, I have not been single since 2009, so I don't know how it works.
Riddle me this. You and you. What do you say?
No, hey, what's up is probably what I'd say.
What do you do? Like, how do you, like, and it's like, because everybody's gonna say one thing and mean, because it's like, yes, it's a hookup app. Of course. But also, it's like, how do you tell someone, yes, I'm interested in hooking up, but I want to get to know you, but not too much, but more than this, but not like, it's like, how do you actually communicate what?
Well, it's like
and he's right, because we are both men. So there's a certain beauty and symmetry to being like, well, we're both gonna nut. Let's just cut.
Okay.
Where is the chase and how do we cut to it?
So that is what's very fascinating to me about gay men's relationships, is how it's so, and it was, I think, what's the guy's name? Savage? The gay guy, the gay writer.
Oh, Dan Savage.
Dan Savage. Fuck,
Sorry.
that was terrible.
I needed a vocation.
So,
okay. Dan Savage, he had said all of that stuff about how because men are generally the sexual aggressors, it's so fascinating and different for them to have sexual relationships. It really just is like, okay, take your pants off. Or like, I need to see a picture of your asshole before we do this. Well, in a large...
It's so fast. And from a sociological perspective, it's fascinating.
In a large part, it kind of goes backwards.
Yeah.
It's sort of, you start in sex and then decide what you want, where you want to become intimate.
Mm-hmm.
Well, because this is another thing, and it was part of my fear, and I was actually very glad that we started with this very early on, but it's like, Luke McFarlane is the traditionally hot, mask, desirable one.
Mm-hmm.
And he sees Billy Eichner and then approaches him, and Billy Eichner's like, fuck, shit, what do I do?
Yeah.
And then immediately just starts rapid fire insulting him. It's exhausting.
No, okay, here's the thing,
though. And the thing is it's like, because in this regard, I relate more to Billy Eichner because I'm not the specimen. But it's like, you kind of think that it's like, please, what? It's I'm making fun of them, they'll be fine. But if everybody in their world is objectifying them...
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's a very clear reason why Luke McFarlane's character is always going after the dumb guys, the, like, dumb gym guys, because he doesn't want to feel stupid going after the Bobby-type guys.
I mean, quite literally, the first thing he said is, God, I bet you're boring. All my friends say you are.
Yeah.
So it's like, so
also,
he insults...
it was only Guy Branum.
No, I know, but it's like he insults his intelligence. Mm-hmm. He insults his
personality.
His personality, and then infers or implies that everyone's talking about it. It makes him paranoid.
No, of course.
And I just was sort of like, ugh.
Here is the thing, though. I think what was interesting, if we're gonna be comparing this to like a traditional straight rom-com, what's very interesting is that Billy Eichner is like the Rachel Lee Cook before she gets the makeover. In his eyes, that's what he is. And so he's like, this hot, again, specimen is not gonna actually be interested in me. So I'm gonna take it off the table in my mind to start with. I thought it was a very fascinating subversion of a straight rom-com. All of the parts of it. The little tiny chocolates, I can't. It was the cutest thing ever. I thought he was going to talk about something else. He was like crying when he was like, Bobby, I have to tell you something. It was hysterical. All I wanted to do when I was little was make tiny fancy chocolates. I'm obsessed. It was the cutest thing. The only way
Tiramisu Susan and the friends, of
of
course, friends is
he
your
likes
touchstone.
Friends.
And we were talking about this in the car, but I was like, did he really like Garth Brooks or was he kidding? And you're like, no, he really liked Garth Brooks. And you're like, and Hangover is his favorite movie. And if, maybe it's not his favorite, but
he liked it.
He unironically
sure.
likes it.
I liked it when it came out. I can understand that it's problematic as 12 years on.
I mean, when you know better, do better.
Yeah.
And things need to change. And when they need to change, you change them. However, us feigning like, my ears, I'm so offended. It's like, that's just the way that we talked. That's the way it was then. And like, no, we shouldn't keep doing it. But the record doesn't have to be stricken.
I agree. I agree.
It's like when we revisited Cruel Intentions. And I'm like, woof.
Yeah.
I still like that movie. I'm still going to watch it. I think it still should be watched. I mean, maybe discuss it a little bit. Maybe be like...
Yeah, I mean, I think, that's obviously... Although, I don't know, is Eric Mabius, is he straight?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So then there's two straight dudes playing gay in that movie. However, I don't think anything will ever top a comedy for me of Joshua Jackson just going, Gregory?
Well, no, but just the way that they speak. Like, the way that they talk... Sarah Michelle Gellar's...
Yeah.
She is...
They say a lot of
the
words.
Disdain in her voice. It's very funny. It's very funny in context. And another thing that was interesting to me, and I think the movie did a really good job of addressing it.
Yeah.
Also without preaching, but it's like there's also an element because a large part of it is what does this conventional, stereotypical, traditional story look like when it's gay, told through the gay lens. And, there was this big set piece, this big sort of plot about Aaron introducing Bobby to his family.
Yeah.
And Aaron, I'm just going to use her names. Luke McFarlane was like, so, my parents are from, like, the Midwest. Maybe, like, tone it down a little bit.
They're from upstate New York.
Oh,
Yeah. It's, like, not that different.
No,
I mean, it is different. It's not that different.
I don't know. I think Billy Eichner was too mad because about the tone it down. Well, he really took it. He took it personal in the way it wasn't meant to be personal.
Here's the thing too, is like when they were in bed together and he was like, they were having a conversation about it when they were in bed together, right when he asked him if he wanted to spend Christmas with his family. And he was like, just so you know, my parents are like really normal. And he was like doing like a wink kind of thing. He was like, my parents are really average, really normal. Just keep that in mind. And that point sailed right over Billy Eichner's head.
And that's the thing. Like, that's not, in my opinion, in this movie, what was happening there wasn't homophobia. And if it wasn't an egregious case of it. It was more so, like, I think people need to make concessions for other people.
I am
like,
absolutely...
Anytime that you meet people's family or other friend groups and stuff, I don't think it's out of line to be like, hey, so, by the way, they don't swear. Like, I've had to tell people not to blaspheme in front of, like, you know what I mean? Like,
but that's the other thing, too, is, like, that's also, I feel like, internal work. Like, I am, like, super happy for people who are just authentically themselves 100% of the time. But when I'm meeting new people, that's not me. I don't act like myself the day I meet new people.
And I guess that's the movie part of it, because it's
especially a significant other's family. No, you're not seeing the real me till I know this is lasting forever.
Well, because they were already so far progressed.
Yeah.
It's like they just didn't want to talk about educating second graders.
Yeah.
And you get the sense that, like I said, if it weren't a movie, that conversation could grow organically over time instead of being, because that was insufferable. I couldn't. I was like, dude, I was so on Aaron's side.
Like,
Why
are you doing this to my mother? Why are you doing this to my mother at a restaurant? Why did you take us to a restaurant with the gayest singing waiters you've ever seen in your life?
There were like 7 different times he could have dropped it.
Yeah.
It's like, why are we still...
Yeah, it was a lot. And that's the thing too, is fundamentally I agree with him. Everybody should be very open with their kids from a young age about the fluidity of sexuality and the spectrum of everything. But
it's going to take a minute to get there. You can't just decree it change.
Sure. Also, I mean, you have to think about the Board of Education and what you're allowed to do as a public school second grade teacher.
Mm-hmm.
There's only so many things. And it obviously all worked out nicely at the end, but still, it's like, come on.
Yeah, I don't know. I was weighing whether or not I wanted to get into all this, because there's another conversation to be had about the monogamy. And to be honest, frankly, I actually really enjoy that the movie addressed it, that it's part of the movie.
Yeah.
Without really, first of all, without being judgy. Second of all, without taking a firm stance sort of either way.
Yeah.
And thirdly, I think it's something that needs every relationship, heterosexual and everything, gay, straight, and in between, could benefit from losing this idea that there is a game of life pathway.
Oh, sure.
Of how you have to do things.
Yeah.
And it sort of reminds me of, it's something Katya said on where she was like, look, I'm a monogamist, but can we stop pretending that adultery is the single worst thing a person can do?
In the scheme of things, absolutely not. I think you can feel deep betrayal within your relationship if somebody cheats, but it's not up there with murder.
It's that whole, once a cheater, always a cheater, or now's the part of the story where we wear a tuxedo and a white dress and walk down an aisle. We have it so ingrained that it all has to go a certain way. And when you're navigating, because again, this movie does that, where it's like, they have not 1, but 2 group sex scenes.
Poor Steve.
Gotta go.
No, he does. He's gotta go. He's gotta go.
I can't believe he wasn't the one that interrupted them when they were talking out on the dock with parking the bike.
Oh my God, that would have
really
been
think
amazing.
Should have been him.
Yeah.
But it's like, I sort of like that both times Billy Eichner was like, okay, let's give this a go. And then afterwards he was like, that didn't work for me.
Yeah.
That just or even when he, the scene with Aaron and his high school,
Josh. Yeah.
It's like, that's obviously a betrayal, that's obviously a violation, but I feel like this is uncharted territory for both of them.
Yeah.
Also, I feel like a conversation can and should have been had.
Yeah, and in that instance, it was just kissing, But
and I mean, I understand that it was more so both of their self-sabotaging kicking in.
Yeah.
But it's can we not pretend that this is the worst thing in the world?
Sure. I agree with you about because at that point they hadn't really had a monogamy conversation, and they were in a fight.
And again, I'm not talking
Aaron
about
was drunk.
I'm not talking about deception. I'm not talking about premeditated, repeated
of course,
betrayal of someone. I'm talking about oh, I went down the wrong path.
Yeah.
And accidents and mistakes, I think, happen, and I think we should be more open or generous, or so. I don't know. It
unless you're Ned from the Try Guys, in which case, fuck yourself.
Die in a ditch.
Die in a ditch.
No, I don't have a stake there.
I don't really either. It's just topical.
This movie did something. Their sex scene.
Yeah.
Oh,
where they were hitting each other.
Yes. Oh my God.
Okay, but I love how it started in the park.
Uh-huh.
And the football guys tried to stop them, and then they started kissing, and they were like, "Oh, okay, no, you're good."
Well, and also Luke was being just such a brat in that scene. And that was a fascinating element of it because he knew better. Like he knew to go on the date.
Yeah.
But he was still pouting about it.
Yeah.
That's very funny. And I think that that's something that I haven't seen a lot of from traditional rom-coms. I love what a staple of just life Hallmark has become, that it's like
so funny.
The whole heart. Because I was like, what are they saying? What was the bisexual? The puns?
Oh God, I don't remember, but it's gonna be a Holly Christmas.
All 7 of them.
It's snowing on all 7 of us.
But no, it did something that I find to be, I don't know that remarkable, but the sex scene, it was both funny and sexy.
Yeah.
And that's something that it's like, I love my what's the movie with Kathleen Turner and Heat or something?
The one I was doing the other day, it's called Body Heat.
Yeah. I love my sexy, steamy, fantasy sex scenes. But sex is weird and a lot of times funny. And I feel like we don't get enough of that.
Oh, yeah.
Enough of people actually just sort of because they were just sort of being weird together and
and just do fingers in the mouth. He was kicking his head into the headboard. I mean, it was very funny. If you're not laughing with your partner during sex, I feel like
there was just an element of oh, do you like that? And it's I mean, maybe,
sure.
kind of, but you're putting a lot of mustard on it.
Yeah.
And just the foot.
Apparently, it worked for both of them. They were very satisfied after.
Go see it. I think I hope and I think it's going to be one of the ones that has legs.
I think so.
That finds its audience over time.
Yeah.
Because now is not it. Weirdly, I think pre-2016 election, this would have done better. But
maybe.
Things have gotten just so weird, and also post-pandemic and all that. It's just
I mean, they acknowledged that in the tunnel of gay panic or whatever it was called.
No, it wasn't gay panic.
Trauma.
Yeah.
I tell ya. It was funny. This movie's really funny.
It was very funny. Very funny.
Also a very welcome cameo from Harvey Fierstein.
Mm-hmm.
Always the right choice.
There was a lot of people in this good to see people.
Yeah.
Good to see you. You deserve this. You belong here.
Yeah.
There wasn't blessedly some Gen Z TikToker or something that they trotted in. Because I'm saying it's
oh boy.
Kristen Chenoweth has never done anything wrong. She's amazing, sweetie. And it's Deborah Messing is an icon and a quasi-problematic queen sometimes, which the movie acknowledges.
I love that they acknowledge that.
She's self-aware enough to know that she's on the verge of being canceled, so she needs to do some...
Because she called herself the Viola Davis of Brandeis or something. Woof.
And I mean, it is a little true. We were sort of conditioned to lay all of our shit on her.
Yeah. So funny.
So I was impressed. I'm very curious to know what other people and especially straight people would think if it translates.
I'd love to know what actual real humans think, because this has they had to turn off the ratings on Rotten Tomatoes because it got review bombed.
Oh,
yeah.
I just imagine because it's not doing any there's not even a political agenda. It's just gay.
Gay. That's the agenda.
There's so many. Drag Race isn't being review bombed. It's there's so many gay things. Why? There's no.
Because people are terrible.
But I'm just saying, it's not out of its lane in any way, shape, or form. Where it's even though I don't agree, I understand why the people would be review bombing Rings of Power or Captain Marvel. It's I understand the mentality, the mob mentality.
I think it's because it's a mainstream, it's a studio movie.
Yeah,
it's a big deal.
Well, so was Love, Simon and Brokeback Mountain, and
I don't know.
It's really dumb.
It's super dumb.
No, because there was some people in the theater, there was what seemed to be a family, not young. It was adult children and parents, and they were having a great time. So
they were having a great time. They, while you were in the bathroom, said some problematic things about evacuating for hurricanes. Okay. I was like, "Fuck you." But they were having a great time with this movie, so.
We're still in Florida.
Yeah.
There's only so much. So, on that note, I think I'll probably tap out.
I dug it. I thought
Highly
two thumbs
recommend
up
it.
for sure.
Highly
Absolutely.
recommend it. I would love, I don't know, every so often these slip into like awards contenders and stuff.
I don't think
necessarily-
it would be totally out of pocket for just like a, as a
writing
gesture.
or-
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, hopefully you enjoyed that movie palette.
You can go to moviepalette.com and use the code SHOW15. You can get some beautiful
Well, he
art.
said not to do that.
He said do that, but don't describe what it is.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
And then you can follow us on Twitter at soimwatching, Instagram at soimwatching this show. We have a website.
And if you're straight and feel bad about it, you can give us money.
Yeah. I'm straight and feel bad about it, so
You've
I financed
you've
this whole
given
thing.
plenty of money.
Okay, bye.